Okay, right, Leah, the session is now recording. As we mentioned, we're now going to have a recorded professional discussion on one-to-one, so your role within the organisation. So we're going to touch upon your organisation, what it does, the structure of it, kind of hierarchy, the people that work there, your relationships with them. We're going to look at stakeholders and communication, and at the end we'll then look at address functional skills as well. So the first thing we'll do, Leah, if you could just explain what your company is, what it does, and then maybe just describe kind of the structure in terms of hierarchy of the people that work there.
So it's a cleaning company that offer a high quality and reliable cleaning service.
Yeah.
It is owned by a owner, line manager, and then the staff.
Okay. So those are kind of the internal stakeholders.
Yes.
With an interest within the business. Okay. Could you give me an example of your kind of working relationship with them? How much you liaise with different people within the business?
So when I'm training, I communicate with them quite a bit because I report back with how the staff are doing and how the individual who I'm training is doing on that day, and then they can report back to them to say how they need to improve.
Okay, excellent. You mentioned about using a lot of communication there.
Yes.
Could you give us an insight into the different styles of communication that you use, and in what situations might you use different forms of communication?
So at the end of the day, it will probably be a list of what they need to work on, and throughout the day, if there's any problems, it will be a phone call or a text message.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so you also use face-to-face verbal communication. You use verbal communication over the phone. I don't know, do you use radios, Leah, as well when you're working in? Okay. You also use digital communication then. You mentioned before that you've got a WhatsApp group.
Yes.
Between the cleaners that you can use. And also you mentioned when there's kind of specific tasks or jobs to do that you might put pictures on of that to kind of give them a visual representation or a picture of exactly what it is that they need to do. So so you'd share that with the staff. You also use digital communication, so emails, audits, reports, things like that as well, for record keeping.
Yeah, to our elder clients, we use emails as they prefer it to text messages. Okay,
excellent. So that's a good example of how you would choose to use one style of communication over another based on the needs of the client.
Yeah.
Okay. We've looked at stakeholders. If you could just describe what your understanding of a stakeholder is.
A stakeholder is someone who shows interest in the business, whether that's internally or externally.
That's it. So there's going to be internal stakeholders, like the staff, the managers, and there's going to be external stakeholders. So in some businesses, they might be considered kind of shareholders.
Yeah.
And people like that. If there's not any shareholders within your business, other stakeholders might be considered kind of clients, customers, contractors that you might liaise and work with, and also suppliers as well.
Yeah.
So you deal a lot with suppliers, with buying products in, so they might have involvements as well. Okay. We've also looked at we've certainly addressed functional skills, Leah. Now I know that we're not doing functional skills exams. You've got an exemption for maths and English. However, we are continuing to do stretch and challenge functional skills, aren't we?
Yeah.
Within the course. So for English, for example, we're looking at different documents, different areas of the course, whether it's e-learning or kind of assignments or workbooks. We're looking at whether they're informal or formal. We're looking at features of text. We're looking at language features. And for every bit of work that we go through, we also look at spelling and grammar as well.
Yeah.
Because that's important. For maths, obviously, you might use documents like budgeting, invoice. I don't know whether you deal with invoices, things like that, Leah, as well. So from your perspective, you need to make sure through working with statistics that invoices match quotes and things like that. So that's important that you're dealing with numbers in that way as well.
Yeah.
In terms of your we've got here, so talking about career goals and things that you want to develop as well. So at the start of the course, you mentioned we know we did or not with me, with Lucy, your other trainer at the time, you completed a personal development plan.
Yes.
So moving forward, certainly probably in the next session, Leah, we're also going to do a review of that, because that's quite a good reflective document to look back on, to monitor progress. So we can look at what were the things that we had down, have we accomplished those, and also, is there any new things that we can focus on as well, and use that as well, because that's, even outside of this course, that's quite a good, useful document to have for your own performance reviews and appraisals that you might have within the company. Okay, excellent. That will that kind of maps in most of the discussion points. Just down the bottom, we can see that we're also doing learning through teaching and learning, through discussions in every session that we have on equality and diversity. So we talk a lot about equal opportunities, treating everybody with fairness, and you've described the range of people that you work with before, Leah, why you think it's important to have quite an inclusive workplace. With working with the range of people that you do. We've also looked at prevent, so online safety, passwords and data protection, and being aware of kind of radicalization and these kind of issues as well. And we've looked at equality and diversity regarding kind of bias and unconscious bias. You would have done that right at the start as well. So that kind of maps in everything that we needed to discuss. So to summarise, we've looked at your organisation, what it does. We've looked at the people that you work with, different stakeholders. We've looked at what your relationship is with them, how you communicate with them as well. We've summarised that really nicely. So that covers everything. So I'm just going to end the recording there.